In 1722, Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen approached a tiny Pacific island when a lone canoe emerged from the waves. Standing inside it was a man Roggeveen described as more than gigantic, nearly 12 feet tall, pale-skinned, red-haired, long-eared, and unafraid. This was the first recorded contact with Easter Island, yet it is the detail most often erased. The island's real history is not a simple tale of Polynesian settlers carving statues and collapsing from ecological failure. It is a layered story of multiple civilizations, megalithic engineers, red-haired elites, and remnants of a priestly race that survived into the 1700s. The oldest layer comes from the rarest Moai, about 14 statues carved from basalt. Basalt is extremely hard, and these statues show crisp geometry and refined craftsmanship far surpassing the later tough Moai. One basalt Moai in the British Museum still displays precision even after centuries of erosion. These statues are mostly hidden on the island today, often labeled too remote, yet their existence points to an advanced early culture similar to the megalith builders of Peru. This connection becomes undeniable at Vinapu, where an ancient wall built from interlocking basalt blocks mirrors the polygonal masonry of Cusco and Sacsayhuaman. Captain James Cook marveled at its engineering in 1770, calling it superior to European stonework. Polynesian culture did not create polygonal basalt structures, meaning this wall predates their arrival. It is architectural evidence of a transoceanic link between the Andes and Rapa Nui. Later came the colossal volcanic tuff Moai carved around Rano Raraku. Thor Heyerdahl excavated them in the 1950s and revealed that the famous heads were actually full bodies buried by centuries of soil. These statues stand upright not because the islanders buried them, but because the ground rose around them over thousands of years, implying far greater antiquity than the accepted 800 to 1200 AD dates. Many of these long-eared statues once wore red stone topknots made from red scoria. According to island tradition, the red color symbolized red hair. Missionaries and early explorers repeatedly described the island's elite as pale-skinned, long-eared, and red-haired, traits absent in Polynesian ancestry. Some skulls showed elongated shapes and occipital bumps similar to the Paracas culture of Peru. Rapa Nui legends describe two peoples, the long ears and the short ears. The long ears were a taller, noble priest class who guarded the sacred knowledge of the Moai. The short ears were later arrivals, the ancestors of modern Rapa Nui, who eventually rebelled against the long ears. Roggeveen observed this division firsthand, describing a separate priest class that matched the island legends. Later missionaries recorded rituals involving Make, a hybrid deity whose carvings still appear in caves. These descriptions echo earlier Peruvian accounts of red-haired elites and unusual cranial traits. One of the most extraordinary elements of Rapa Nui tradition is the power of mana. The Moai were said to walk into place once their eyes were installed. In the 1930s, archaeologists discovered coral and obsidian eye sets, confirming that the statues once had gleaming white eyes. According to oral traditions, mana activated only after the eyes were placed. On the island sits the Navel of Light, a spherical stone that causes compasses to spin wildly. Islanders treated it as a spiritual power source, and its magnetic anomalies suggest that mana may have been the folk memory of an energetic technology we no longer understand. Thor Heyerdahl's excavations deepened the mystery. He found underground chambers with vaulted ceilings, stone shelves, ancient skulls, and grotesque hybrid figures so old they disintegrated when touched. He concluded that Easter Island had two distinct epochs, an earlier megalithic culture likely linked to South America, and a later Polynesian culture that inherited and attempted to rebuild on top of ancient ruins. Modern archaeology avoids this conclusion because it challenges the model of isolated Pacific settlement, yet Heyerdahl's evidence has never been refuted. The standard narrative of ecological suicide, that the islanders cut down their trees and destroyed themselves, ignores documented Peruvian slave raids in the 1800s, devastating European diseases, and missionary destruction of sacred knowledge. The collapse of Rapa Nui culture was not self-inflicted. It was the result of external forces layered onto an already ancient and fragile society. When we combine the basalt megaliths, red-haired priest class, 12-foot eyewitness accounts, magnetic anomalies, multi-epoch construction, and architectural links to Peru, a different picture emerges. Perhaps the basalt Moai depict a prehistoric people who reached the Pacific long before Polynesians. Perhaps Roggeveen's giant was one of their last living descendants. And perhaps the Navel of Light once played a role in a forgotten energetic system that animated the Moai. Easter Island is not a footnote of isolated innovation. but a surviving fragment of a lost global civilization, one that connected the Andes, the Pacific, and a world that existed long before our recorded history. The Moai were not built simply to watch over the island. They were built to preserve memory. Rapa Nui is a keyhole into a forgotten age, and until we confront what still lies buried beneath its soil, its forbidden history will remain unseen, waiting silently for those willing to look deeper. If you want to support deeper research and found this journey as fascinating as we did, subscribe to Ancient Epochs for more.